A reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verse 11, through chapter 3, verse 12. One day when Moses had grown up, he went out to his people and looked on their burdens. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his people. He looked this way and that, and seeing no one, he struck down the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. When he went out the next day, behold, two Hebrews were struggling together. And he said to the man in the wrong, "Why do you strike your companion?" He answered, "Who made you a prince and a judge over us? Do you mean to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and thought, "Surely the thing is known." When Pharaoh heard of it, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from Pharaoh and stayed in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well. Now the chief priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. The shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and saved them and watered their flock. When they came home to their father Reuel, he said, "How is it that you have come home so soon today?" They said, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hands of the shepherds, and even drew water for us and watered the flock." He said to his daughters, "Then where is he? Why have you left the man? Call him that he may eat bread." And Moses was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moses his daughter Zipporah. She gave birth to a son and called him Gershom, for he said, "I have been a sojourner in a foreign land." During those many days, the king of Egypt died, and the people of Israel groaned because of their slavery and cried out for help. Their cry for rescue from slavery came up to God, and God heard their groaning. And God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. God saw the people of Israel, and God knew. Meanwhile, Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. Leading the flock across the desert, he came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There an angel of the Lord appeared to him in fire, flaming out of a bush. As he looked on, he was surprised to see that the bush, though on fire, was not consumed. So Moses decided, "I must go over to look at this remarkable sight and see why the bush is not burned." When the Lord saw him coming over to look at it more closely, God called out to him from the bush, "Moses, Moses." He answered, "Here I am." God said, "Come no nearer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground. I am the God of your father," he commanded, "the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. But the Lord said, "I have witnessed the affliction of my people in Egypt, and have heard their cry of complaint against their slave drivers. So I know well what they are suffering. Therefore I have come down to rescue them from the hands of the Egyptians, and lead them out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the country of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. So indeed the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have truly noted that the Egyptians are oppressing them. Come now, I will send you to Pharaoh to lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." But Moses said to God, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and lead the Israelites out of Egypt?" He answered, "I will be with you, and this shall be your proof that it is I who have sent you. When you bring me out of Egypt, you will worship God on this very mountain." We hear today in the story of Moses first that God chooses a murderer. God chooses a man who killed the guard of the slave. So while slavery is bad, so is killing him. So is killing the guard. Because Moses was not looking to free the man. It was not an act of salvation. It was not a condemnation of slavery. Rather, it was an overreaction to cruelty. And so when Moses finds out that what he had done was known, he flees. He flees. And he goes to a place where these daughters of the priests of Midian are watering their flock. Now, we look at the son of Abraham being Isaac, the son of Isaac being Jacob, and we see that in both cases, their marriage was arranged at a well. Or that the woman was met at the well, and then the father was met at the house. Because they would say that at wells was the one time that women could go out, basically unescorted. So it was the one chance that you could see various women. And so here we see Moses. He waters the sheep. He waters the flock. He goes back with the women to this house and later marries one of these women who he had met at the well, the eldest daughter. Now, when Moses is there, he is relatively happy. He is married. He has a son. He has a flock. He has some success. And God calls him in the appearance of a burning bush. And God tells him to remove his sandals because it is holy ground. And so some of you will notice that when I enter into the sanctuary of the church, I like to remove my shoes. Sometimes I'll wear special shoes. Sometimes I'll go in barefoot. And again, the idea of this is to remember that I am entering into holy ground, that I am coming before God. Now, God heard the cry of his people, and he chose Moses, a man who murdered. He chose Moses to save his people. And so we see that God can save us from our sins, like he saved Moses. And he can save us from our trials and struggles, like he promises to save the Israelites.